Kaettekita Mario Bros. Or Mario Bros. Returns is a Mario game that you probably don't know about, but you totally need to play. In 1988, Nintendo was going full swing into making games for the Famicom Disk System, and that included re-releasing some of their earlier games on the system. However, for Mario Bros., they did not just simply port the pre-existing cartridge version, but they made a much more dynamic, technologically improved version that even surpassed the original arcade game. This was tied into a sponsorship deal with the Japanese food company Nagatanien, and it turned into the best version of Mario Bros. Ever made. The core gameplay hasn't changed from the arcade game, but they evolved it into being what gamers wanted from Mario Bros. It is still a single-screen action arcade game where you play as either Mario or Luigi, and instead of jumping on enemy turtles, crabs, and flies, you punch from below platforms to flip them over before kicking them off before they get back on their feet and come after you. But what has changed is the jumping physics that deeply affects the playstyle. The original game had restrictive tank controls where Mario and Luigi could not change the direction of their jump in mid-air. Then came Super Mario Bros., where you could actually adjust or tweak your velocity in mid-air, and so Mario Bros. Returns added the play control that you expected. Sounds like it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it makes the game considerably more fun. Also included is two-player couch co-op action, where you're either working together or against each other. But you wouldn't do that to your brother Luigi now, would you? The graphical detail of Kaettekita Mario Bros. Is upgraded with even more detailed sprites, smoother animation, and more details of the turtles emerging and returning to their shells. Another major feature is Nagatanien World. At the beginning of the game, there was a cinema cutscene featuring Japanese comedian Satoru Kitajima, who would throw sakura or cherry blossoms at the Mario Brothers. In addition to having furikake, seaweed rice-flavored commercials inserted into this mode, you could also win another chance to continue the game in a slot machine after the game was over. Now, when you bought a game out of the Nintendo Disk System kiosk, sometimes the backside was blank and a rewrite fee was typically 500 yen to have a new game put on existing discs. Since this game was sponsored, it was only 400 yen, so you could get the best darn version of Mario Bros. At a reduced cost. You could also register your name, age, and gender, which would be displayed in the high score rankings, and then use one of the disc fax kiosks to send your high score to Nintendo and win prizes such as a copy of Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Curry, or furikake rice flavorings. Sadly, Nintendo would keep this game in Japan, but they did end up having a modified version called Mario Bros. Classic Series that removed the advertisements, and it got a late NES release, but only in Europe. This is not to be confused with the NES Classic Series version of Mario Bros. That was NES games ported to the Game Boy Advance. So whether you're going to play this on the disk system using an actual disc, or just use an EverDrive on an NES or Famicom like I am doing here, or just use emulation or FPGA, it's a good time to be had. Kaettekita Mario Bros. Is a fascinating bit of Nintendo history, but it's one of the best versions of this already totally fun classic Nintendo game. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you should totally subscribe. This is 8-Bit Joystick. Stay awesome, play retro.